We humans took everything in our life for granted, except when we lost something we love. Then realize how lucky you are, and a life is a gift.
Hello and welcome to A Moment in Health, a series from Bupa Global where we discover the health milestones that have sparked life-changing stories. I'm Karan Rajan, a doctor, health educator, and author. Major changes in our health can be some of life's most defining moments. They may not only change our health and well-being, but can be turning points that shape us into who we become. They can challenge how we see ourselves, alter our routines, and make us reconsider what truly matters. At the same time, they can spark reflection, growth, and new opportunities we might never have imagined. Joining us today is someone who's experienced this firsthand. I'm delighted to introduce Sara Andrés Barrio, Paralympic athlete, teacher, advocate, and mother. After losing her feet in a car accident in 2011, Sara has represented Spain in the European Championships, World Championships, and Paralympic Games. Sara, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. It's a great time to be here.
You've got such an amazing, powerful story, but before we dive into that, I just want you to take us back to your life before the accident.
Well, my life was a normal life. A 25 years old teacher who just began working with children, which I loved. And in my free time, I went out with my friends. And in that moment, I remember I was doing a lot of horse riding. Yeah, I had a typical life, but perhaps too organized, because I didn't feel like it fooled me at all. And my challenge or my goals, we were to continue like this, perhaps in the future to be an education inspector, start a family, but not much else. And now I see that I was living half asleep without really being aware of what I wanted to do. And when the accident happened, everything is changed, and I woke up.
As you said, you were living a very normal life. You were presumably very busy being a teacher in Madrid for primary school kids, and you were horse riding. Now, right now, your life is so much more different. You're a professional athlete, and you've been so successful across world championships, European championships. Apart from horse riding, was sport and athletics a huge part of your life before the accident in those times?
I have always been very athletics. I have done many sports like cycling, tennis, football, horse riding, and karate. And I didn't compete because at that time I didn't like competition. Comparing myself with others, on evaluating myself, I didn't like it. But sport have always been present in my life, a fun part of it, and health or well-being was present too, but it wasn't a priority, and now it is. Now I do sport for health, mentally and body health and physical health, and then to have fun, and finally to be competitive. This is for me the best order to do a sport.
Sara, you mentioned that in your early time when you were a primary school teacher in Madrid, you were half asleep. You were just going through your life and you lived a very normal life. Then when you had the accident, were there any things that you felt you took for granted before?
Yes, of course. In fact, everything. We humans took everything in our life for granted, except when we lost something we love. Then realize how lucky you are, and a life is a gift. You take for granted youth, luck, health, and you think nothing bad will ever happen to you in your life. But as time goes by, you realize that life changes, and sometimes those things are negative or bad, and you have to learn or to adapt to them. For example, I had to to learn walk again and to see the world with different eyes. And thanks for that, I really value every little thing I had, and I enjoy it. And I think we should all try to do the same.
What you just said there seems to be a common theme, because a lot of the guests I've spoken to who have also had equally powerful stories, that same thing comes up where they took certain aspects of their life for granted before a huge turning point in their life. And it takes a huge change, whether it's like a tragedy or an accident, to make us wake up and realize we could be doing more with our lives, or, you know, there's something really important that we could be focusing on. That seems to be the same in your case as well. And just going back to that moment in your life where you had the accident, can you talk me through what the accident was and those first few weeks of recovery?
Well, I didn't remember much about my accident because I lost my consciousness, and of course I lost my feet. But I had small memories, and I will never forget the smell of asphalt and oil. Days later, I woke up in the hospital bed, and I felt an immense pain in my legs. And in that moment, I went back to sleep. I spent 4 days in intensive care, waking up at intervals. And when I woke up, sometimes my family came to visit me. And from these faces, I knew that something very serious was happening to me. But you can imagine the shock. I cry a lot, I suffer a lot. I felt that I wouldn't be the same person, that I would not walk again. My whole world collapsed. And I realized that the life is very ephemeral. And later, I began to realize in the hospital that important things I could still do. I could embrace my family. I could laugh with my friends. I could kiss, love, and be loved. And this is the most important lesson I learned. I could still do then the important things. And perhaps everybody should thinking about what is the important thing in your life.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful. I mean, it really resonated with me that even though things may seem tragic in the moment, there's always some gratitude we can have in certain aspects of our life. And I can't even imagine the physical and mental anguish and trauma you went through during that phase, losing your legs and learning how to walk again. Can you talk me through that? Because you mentioned some of that physical pain that you felt, but the mental burden that would have been with you for weeks and months afterwards, if you could describe that.
Yeah, I remember my recovery. Physical recovery took over 9 months in a wheelchair, and adapting to that new life was hard, very difficult. I remember how difficult it was to go out on the street with a wheelchair. The streets are not enabled. You have many obstacles. But little by little, I improved, and I got my prosthesis legs, and I tried to first walking and after running. And when I start running, I felt happy, free, full of life. By mental recovery, 1 year more or less. Yeah, because the most challenge for me was to love my body again, accept my body, and it's so hard and so difficult the process to that. But it's possible with help, with the doctor helped me, and now I love my body, I love my feet, my prosthesis leg, and everything is okay.
What sort of adjustments did you need to make to then go back into your love of sport and training?
Well, I have always been very athletic. I love doing it. And there are some things I cannot do, but many others I can. And my coach and I realized that there are exercises could be adapted, and little by little I improve. And in addition, the thing more wonderful about the sport are it doesn't matter what circumstance you have. If you have a disability or not, or you have a wheelchair or a prosthesis, the feeling is the same. If you do a sport, the sensation is the same, and it's wonderful. And in that moment, I thought, why if try for Paralympics? And I start training for it. I remind me my motto, which is, I'd rather have no feet and know where I'm going than have them and be lost. And it can be extrapolated for everything in your life. And for me, I have a clear goal to go to Paralympic, and I'm working hard for that.
So, Sara, when you were a school teacher in Madrid, you told me that whilst you were interested in health, you didn't like to test yourself and compare to other people and compete. But now you've won a bronze medal at the European Championships, 2 bronze and a silver at the World Championships. So you've gone from just simple, like passionate about sports to then on a world stage. How does it feel to represent Spain and your country and actually win medals?
Wow. Representing my country, it is an incredible sensation. I was proud to be there, to the top of the competition. And of course, if you win a medal, it is even better. It's very, very exciting. But the real satisfaction is in overcoming the difficult times in our life.
So not only do you do this, being a medal-winning athlete, but actually you're an author as well. You've written a series of children's books where children have different disabilities and hobbies. How important is that for you to advocate for disability awareness?
It is very important for me to give visibility to disability. And what better way than through children's stories to educate respect, empathy and tolerance towards people are different. And when the children read my books, they naturalize the disability and become a respectful and socially conscious adult, or at least I hope this.
I think you'll be a huge role model to young children as well who've maybe got similar disabilities and see someone running so fast, winning things. I think that's really powerful. But also someone who's gone through a similar situation like yourself, a huge loss or a tragedy, what advice would you give to them?
There are 2 things have always served me. Are 1, look yourself and listen to your soul. You must find something you are passionate about to dedicate every energy to focus on that. In other words, love your life doing you love. The second advice, the network we surround ourselves with is so important. You must surround people who love you and encourage you.
Yeah, I think that, especially that first point, that really resonated with me because it sounds like you found your purpose, to motivate others, but also listen to what you want to do and your soul and your passion. You fit in so much in such a short time span. Like it looks like you've lived so many lives in just a short space of time. So what is next? What's the next chapter of your life look like?
Well, I have recently become a mother and my life has completely changed. I really want to enjoy my son, my husband, my family, but I also hope to be in Los Angeles 28, and have a little one cheering me on and have feel proud of his mommy. I get excited just imagine that moment. I'm going to do the same, the motivational talks, and waiting for the new projects come up. And I think my life now fulfill me, and finally, perhaps I woke up.
You know, it doesn't surprise me at all how much you're doing. I know you're going to be an amazing mother. I'll be cheering you on with the 2028 games as well. You've had such a powerful, amazing story. So, Sara, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing that with me.
Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure.